Afternoon. Welcome back to Uncle Sam's Senior Corner. Today's topic I'd like to discuss is the relationship between grandfather and grandson or grandchildren. A few weeks back, I had lunch with my grandson, Anthony Anzo, and during the conversation of the luncheon, the peculiar question came from him is, and he asked me a question. Grandpa, can you tell me our ancestry history? Because I would like to know. Well, that kind of took me back a little bit. And says, here it is, a 16-year-old doesn't know his ancestry history. Shame on me because I should have at least attempted to converse with him earlier and tell him what our ancestry history is. Well, he was very curious. He was curious about my grandfather, how he came to the United States from immigrated from Italy to the United States, and for what reason. Well, I went through the history regarding my grandfather coming in the 20th century, the 20th century, and as a young man spending some time here, earning some money, and leaving his sweetheart at home in Italy and became a citizen. And then once he had enough money, he went back to Italy and married his sweetheart, but never come back to the United States. However, later on, my father uh, immigrated to the United States because he wanted to come to the country of the free, went to country of opportunity, et cetera, et cetera. And I told him the whole history. I was amazed how interesting it was and how neglectful I was for not even suggesting in earlier that I tell him where he came from, and that is very important. Grandparents need to get involved, and I felt that I kind of failed him because I did not get involved and tell him the whole history. And here I am now, and I'm glad he asked that question. Well, discussion today is what is our place? What is our purpose when it comes to the family, and how could we uh, kind of mold their character by informing them by the children's past, my past, where they came from, the ancestry, and it is a responsibility of the grandparents. It is a responsibility also of the parents to inform their children. But unfortunately, today, even though the children are informed, they don't pass it on to their children because of their uh, busy schedules and other things going on around their lives. So, grandparents become an important part of molding the individual's character, molding the individual's knowledge of this ancestry. We become a very integral part of their lives, and we should get more involved, and we should have more conversation with the grandchildren. I'm glad I had that conversation with my grandchild. How important it is because knowing where you came from is knowing what you are and what you're going to be. It is important that every person know their history. It is very important to know what custom, and why we celebrate certain custom, certain traditions, even Christmas, why we serve certain foods. It's all because of our ancestry and their custom and tradition. These things, like curious individuals like my grandson, uh, are important to him because he has the ability to say, listen, I need to know more about us. Not only that, but I think grandchildren need to know a little more about our history. I mean, how did the United States came about? Well, I was watching TV the other day, and on a certain show, there was a kind of a survey by a news reporter asking who was the first president of the United States, and then asking various individuals. which I'm sure had graduated high school. I mean, one individual answered Abraham Lincoln. Well, I kind of chuckled at that, but then I was kind of sad because obviously that particular individual was not given any history in school. Did not take any history in school, taught anything in school. The educational system is failing us. The educational system right now is kind of teaching civics rather than history, the important history. Not only American history, but world history, ancient histories. Just remember, I have a motto. In order to know your present, and in order to know where you're going for your present, you must know your history. Past history gives us lessons. Past history gives us purpose. Past history gives us where we are today, a free nation. United States, a free nation, a great experiment. Unfortunately, the young generation, and I blame the educational system for this, they're not taught American history. They're not taught world history. To them, is the present. It is the present civic sort of history, which really doesn't tell anyone anything. So you wonder why nowadays children, young men, young women, which graduate high school don't know who the first president of the United States is. It's up to us grandparents to kind of instill in them and try to, again, to get interested in learning history, such as I did with my grandchildren. You know, if we're not taught in school, what about reading this book? Maybe you'll learn something. And they do, and they do. They do pick up the book and they do learn. And so, gee, I didn't know these facts about the United States history. We were not taught in school these facts. That is a shame. That is a crying shame that the educational system is failing our young people. Hence, you have the present conditions. I mean, right now, children are taught by kind of woke teachers and woke professors, which teach a liberal and ideology in socialism, communism. Remember that the history is important in your children's life, in your grandchildren's life, because it teaches you many things which you will not find in a civics class. It teaches you the right from wrong, the mistakes made through history. And our children here in the United States, they have to know their history, the great experiment of democracy and free enterprise and free personal freedoms. We as grandparents, we have kind of a responsibility to try and induce our grandchildren to learn about not only their family history, their ancestry, but also the history of how this great experiment of the United States of America came about and why it is so important that we uphold the Constitution, that we uphold a history of free enterprise, freedom, individual freedom, that we appreciate that we have a choice to be productive or a choice not to be productive. I like to think that all Americans are productive, and I like to believe that majority Americans are. Those Americans which know their history, they know their past, they know their present, and they know their future. They know which way to go. So, as a grandparent, I think you should You should have contact with your grandchildren. You should somehow teach your history, your family history. Tell them what your ancestry is about. I don't care if it's first, second, third, or fourth, or 10th generation. But we are a nation of immigrants. Starting from the Pilgrims to present time, we're a nation of immigrants. And we all have some kind of background. Our background, our ancestry is very important that our children and grandchildren and their children always know what their history is. So they can understand not only how their lives are being molded into a family, as a citizen, as a free thinking individual, so that they know their history so they could plan for their present and future. This is really important. We as grandparents just can't say, well, we're retired and we have no more responsibilities. We do have those responsibilities because we're a great influence on all of our grandchildren. And if we preach self-freedom, if we preach the American Constitution, the great experiment, and we teach the free enterprise, and we teach that no other form of government on this face of this earth is better than our democracy through our republic of the United States of America. Knowing your ancestors is important, but more importantly, is knowing where you are today and how you came about to be where you are today. Know about that there is no other country that gives you all the personal freedoms and guaranteed under the Constitution. Although some individuals or in some other groups would like to destroy that, it's not going to happen because the majority of Americans love this country. Majority of Americans have worked hard for their opportunities to better their lives. Not only that, on bettering their lives, but they're also building a strong economy, a strong country. We are the best in the world when it comes to that. So it starts at home. It starts with the family. Very important that we follow through as grandparents, that we influence our children and guide them towards the right path so they can preserve their freedoms in the future. I was very happy when I had that lunch with my grandson, 16 years old, and very proud that he wanted to know where he came from, what customs, when we celebrate those customs, those traditions, why family is very important. We are a tiny knit family, and we all love each other. Of course, we have our differences, but in essence, he needed to know why we are like that. So I suggest to all senior citizens with grandchildren, even your children, that you instill in them the great American dream. That you instill them they are living in a great country full of personal freedoms guaranteed under the Constitution, not by a dictator, but under the Constitution. A country of laws, not a country of dictators. With this, I'd like to leave you with the thought that maybe you should engage yourself, as I have, and instill to all your children, your grandchildren, hopefully they will carry on, instill that thought that we need to know our past. to know our present, and to know our future. Thank you for listening. God bless America. We'll see you next week. Bye now. Okay, I finish. I'm going to reverse the camera, all right? There, there you go. Okay, I pressed stop recording. I already did.